Hello everyone, this is John Galt speaking, here with a live stream tutorial video. I don't know if you would really call this a tutorial or not. So some of you guys have purchased my multiplayer TPS basic, and I thank you guys very much for that, by the way. And so I've been gathering some random questions that have been asked about this template that may not necessarily have been covered in the other videos that go along with it. So before we get started here, let me just go to my YouTube page and just make sure that you guys already have perused the knowledge base that is already there. Okay, so let's see here. If you go to my YouTube page, and there should be some, I mean, I don't know if you guys see exactly what I see or not. I really don't. But there's some playlists here. And one of these playlists is basically just the overview videos of all the things that I'm selling on the UE4 marketplace. And then there is another one here that is called Tutorials for My Assets. So guys, if you haven't, any of you guys that have bought anything from me, if you guys haven't, I would highly recommend that you guys make sure that you watch it. Look guys, seriously, it doesn't even matter which product you bought. All these are pertinent to each other for the most part, right? Because generally when I build things, I build my stuff to make it conform, right? So I have a specific way that I do things, and I try to carry that over from project to project to project, okay? So make sure that you watch all these videos in this playlist. Even if it's not for the TPS basic, you should watch the ones for the FPS basic. You should also watch the ones for the capture the flag, okay? And also make sure that you really watch this one about packaging and testing any of my products, right? Because a lot of the questions that I've been asked are people that are having issues with not so much the packaging part of the process, but the testing, right? Like how come whenever I host a server, you know, somebody's trying to find it and they can't find it, right? There is a specific set of caveats, if you will, that you have to follow in order to make that work, right? Nothing's magic, guys. Everything, unfortunately, everything takes a bit of work, right? It always does. So the biggest problem from the questions that I have gotten, the biggest problem is two problems, right? One of them is that this project, none of my projects are set up to work in a LAN environment. They're not, right? I believe that LAN is a thing of the past, honest to God, right? I mean, who's having LAN parties at this time? And even if that wasn't true, right, and people are still trying to do LAN stuff, how many LANs are not connected to the internet, right? Like, I don't have a LAN, so I can't really test a LAN environment, but you know, even if you wanted to, like, say for example, you and your brother want to play this game that you make out of my template, how would you accomplish that? If you can't play via LAN, how would you accomplish that? Well, it's pretty simple, right? One person hosts it on the internet and the other person joins it, right? So it's the same difference. So one of the problems that, one of the questions that was asked was, a guy was having an issue trying to host a listen server on one of his computers in his house, and then he was trying to access that server, join that server from another computer in his house on the LAN, right? And so nowhere in any of my product descriptions do I say that this supports LAN. It really doesn't. So for you guys, I have no way of helping you. Like, I really don't, because first of all, even if I wanted to try to help you guys, I really can't, because I don't have a LAN to test this on, right? I really don't. So that question, that's all I'm going to answer about that. This product never has, never will support LAN environments. It's for Steam, specifically Steam listen servers. Okay. So the second issue that a lot of people are having is that obviously they didn't watch this video here about packaging and testing any of my products, because in that I go into extreme detail as to why if you host a server, a listen server, and then you have your buddy in Bangladesh try to join it and he can't find it in the search results, there's a specific reason that happens, right? And so guys, for you guys, go watch this video. And if you watch this video and follow what I lay out in this video, then if you still can't get it to work, then contact me directly and maybe I'll try to help you out. Okay, because guys, I'll just tell you straight up, I test every single bit of my stuff extensively, and I would not under any circumstance put a product up for sale somewhere that I was not 100% confident that it was the best quality that I could provide to the best of my ability. So it works. I've tested it many times. So if you're not able to locate a listen server, go watch that video and it'll tell you why. But just since I brought it up, I'll go ahead and mention it here. Steam filters out servers by region and or by ping rate. So what that means in a nutshell is this: you can't host a server in Tennessee and expect somebody in India to be able to search for and find and join that server. It ain't gonna happen unless you manually go into your Steam settings and override your download region. In other words, those two download regions need to be very near each other. They don't necessarily have to be exactly the same, but they have to be near each other. So for you guys that are having trouble with the server being located, either the host has to go into his Steam settings and change his download region to somewhere near where the person that's trying to join is, or the exact opposite needs to happen. The person that's trying to join needs to go into their Steam settings, into the downloads region, and change that download region server to somewhere near the person that's trying to host. Then if you can't locate and find the server, then come ask me about it and maybe we'll investigate it a little bit further. Guys, I know my videos get long-winded. I know they do. I know some of you guys just try to skip through parts and get to the relevant stuff, but you're missing very important information when you do that kind of stuff. Okay? All right, and so there's that. Now, one of the next questions that we're going to go ahead and try to cover in this video is, how do I change the map, right? How do I change the map? Actually, let me go ahead and cover, well, maybe we'll save that one. Well, no, actually, maybe we'll go ahead and talk about it here. Okay, so anyway, guys, once again, make sure that you guys go watch every single one of these videos, because all these projects are built very similar, using very similar methods and techniques. So you might gather some information in one of these tutorials that actually pertains to the one that you own, which has nothing to do with the one that you own. So go watch them. It's worth it. I go above and beyond trying to make sure that everyone who purchases my stuff knows how to operate it and knows what they're getting when they buy it, right? I'm not these content creators that make a little demo reel video with some crappy music playing in the background and they don't tell you the first thing about what you just bought, right? I'm not that guy. All my products have very detailed information about what it is before you ever even buy the template. You can download a demo off the marketplace page. You can actually play it yourself before you purchase it, right? Then beyond that, you go watch the overview video and it will tell you every single thing that thing comes with and what it's capable of. So with that, now we're gonna move on to some other questions that it's been for sale long enough now, guys. I wasn't ignoring you guys, right? I was just trying to make sure that I gathered enough information that I wasn't having to make 2, 3, 4, 10 other videos trying to answer these questions. So I'm addressing them all in one video. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about and discuss here a little bit is what I suspect a lot of people are having issues with my products. Okay. So let me first start off by saying the simple capture the flag is not meant to be a project that you can simply migrate out of that one into your existing project and it just magically work. None of my templates are designed to work that way, right? They're not. These little $6 templates that I make are simply to be a demonstration of how you could set up those mechanics in your existing game, right? Your existing game. They're not meant to be able to just migrate, right? Because there's a lot of things that has to happen that cannot just be universally created to work with any project, right? They're just not. And that's one of the reasons why you guys don't see, these simplified, broke down versions of projects, is because they all the mechanics and the blueprints and the scripting all have to talk together, right? And so a lot of that is tied to the actual character that you play as. And so obviously you guys should be able to quickly see that, well, this character in this simple capture the flag, as an example, it has certain logic, sockets, and scripting inside the character blueprint, the player controller, the player state, etc., etc. Well, if that logic does not exist in your character that you're trying to migrate these two templates together, one of two things has to happen here. Either you have to take all the logic that's in that character, in that player controller, in the simple capture the flag, and you have to recreate that or copy paste it and patch up the bugs into your character, or you have to take what exists in your character and put it inside the simple capture the flag character. This goes for every single template that I create. That means that this is pertinent to the simple capture the flag. This is pertinent to the teams and class select, and the first person shooter template and the third person shooter template. These projects are not meant to be migrated into an existing project and voila, you have capture the flag. Voila, you have teams and class select. Guys, that ain't how this stuff works. We're not making game mods here. We are doing game dev, bruh. And those are two very distinct, completely different things, okay? But there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to take a little simple template as this and diagnose it, look through the blueprints, look through the functions, look through the scripting, look through the actor blueprints, and recreate that in your project. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that. That is intentionally why this is called simple capture the flag. That's all it is, right? Okay, and so with that, one last mention here. These templates are not meant to just migrate my template into your template, and then you have all the things that my template has in your template. There's a lot of work that has to be done to make those two projects talk to each other. And just to say it here, that's not something that you get as a technical support, right? That's not something that you get. Now, I could do that for you, but that doesn't come with a $20 template, guys. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. Okay? It ain't like, hey, I bought your $20 template. Now I need you to finish the rest of my game, right? That's not how this works, guys. Unfortunately, no. Okay, so we're going to type in TPS here, and we're going to create a project, and I'm going to go ahead and do this for engine version 4.19. So, guys, also project versions matter. So even if you are trying to migrate, say, a map pack into my project, if your map pack was created in engine version 4.25 and you're trying to migrate it into my project and you created a 4.15 version, that's not gonna work. Right? So these projects kind of have to be the same, right? So if you're working with my template in a specific engine version, all your assets need to also be for that specific engine version. And if that's not possible, you need to take my project and upgrade it to the version that you're going to be using. And so actually, let me create a 4.15 version of this project here, and I'll show you guys how stupidly simple it is to upgrade this, right? So once you get it created, you can see that I created this for engine version 4.15. Well, the problem is that to demonstrate how you change the map in this project, I'm going to be using a pre-manufactured map here. Okay, and what we're going to be using is this one here called Sci-Fi Industrial Level Kit. Well, the problem is that the earliest engine version that this supports is 4.19. So I cannot add this to this, right? Because the engine versions are not the same. So I have two choices here. One is, how do I go about creating all this in this in engine version 4.15? Well, I can tell you guys that you have to recreate all of it. That means you have to recreate all the materials, all the scripting, anything, all the post-process. You cannot migrate this into an older engine version, right? It just won't work that way. So in other words, unless it's a very small project, could you imagine going in there and trying to recreate all those materials? Just that alone for this map pack here would be an impossible task. So the other alternative to that is this project here needs to be at a bare minimum engine version 4.19. Now, when you create my projects, any of them, if you hover over this little black eye dot here, it tells you which engine versions that this project is compatible with. My products, all of them, support from engine version 4.15 all the way to the most current engine version, right? So when you initially create the project, it gives you the opportunity right here to select which version of this do you want, right? And you hit this little drop down and you see that you can create all the way up to 4.25. But if you have already started a project in engine version 4.15, here's how you upgrade it, right? Now this is stupidly simple. You simply go into wherever your projects are stored. In my case, it's in my documents, Unreal Projects, right here. All you have to do is take this little exe here that opens the project, right click and go to switch Unreal Engine version. And it pops this little dialog up here and you can easily pick which engine version you want, and all the engine versions that you have installed will show up in this list. So in this case, we're going to change this to open in engine version 4.19. And that is as simply all you have to do to upgrade a project. Now that doesn't mean that it'll work, right? But all my stuff has been tested to work. So this only applies to my stuff. You guys may have a project that's in an older engine version and try to do what I just did, and then half the stuff breaks, right? It happens. It's one of the reasons why I tell people it's not a good idea to constantly keep upgrading your projects, because with every engine upgrade, you're likely going to break a bunch of stuff. Okay, so now that I upgraded that project, I'm just reopening my launcher just to show you guys that it did in fact update, right? So now you can see that it says engine version 4.19, and I haven't even opened this yet. So I did the upgrade before I ever even opened it. So now we're going to go ahead and open this project up in here, and you can see it's opening in 4.19.2, and voila. It's that easy to upgrade. If you accidentally started in an older engine version and you're trying to put something from a newer engine version in, that is how you can easily upgrade what you already have. Okay? Now guys, once again, I'm not responsible for anything that you've added extra to this template, right? So if you've already been in here tampering with it and tinkering with it and changing this and changing that, It might not work in the most current engine version, but that's not because of something that I did. That's something that you guys did that you're going to have to investigate, right? Okay, so this is a stock template here, right? I haven't done anything. This is exactly the way that it comes when you create a default template. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in the map pack that I'm going to use in this to demonstrate how you would change the maps out. So let's do a search here for sci-fi. And I'm going to add this to this project right here, right? So let's go ahead and give this a moment here. Let me light me up a smoke. And voila, it is done. So now when we come in here, you guys see that we have this whole sci-fi industrial level kit thing here. So when I hit the play button, obviously this is going to use what this project comes with. So let me go ahead and just host up a game here, and it's gonna, I'm compiling shaders and you don't want me to, right? So it works perfectly fine this way. But now here comes the part about changing the map. So bend your ears over and pay very close attention to this, okay? So now the goal becomes, okay, so I don't want to use your crappy map, which honestly, I don't blame you guys a single bit for not wanting to use my crappy map, because that's exactly what it is, a crappy placeholder map. So this pack that we put in here comes with a sample scene, right? So if we open this up here and let it do its, oh wow, see, it's already having a cow about, see, and this is not, once again, this is not something of mine, right? This is this asset pack. You can see we already have this warning about our texture streaming pool, and that's okay. But when we hit the play button here, you can see that nothing, I got nothing, right? Nothing, I got nothing. So now the goal becomes, how do we get our player to spawn into this level, right? Well, that's pretty simple, but it gets a lot more complicated as we go through this. So all we have to do in order to get the TPS character to be playable in here is right here under the world settings. If you guys don't have that open, if you hit this drop down here, you can open your world settings right here. All we have to do is change, see how it says none for the game mode here? All we have to do is change this to the game mode that that template comes with, right? And then we hit the play button, and voila, there we are. And everything just works, right? Almost as if by magic. Okay? So now the next thing is that, well, you know, we need player starts, right? So when I hit the play button here, I'm going to notice that the character just spawns into the air and falls. So we're going to look over here in the world outliner for player start, and you can see that there are none. That's a problem that has to be eliminated, right? So all I'm going to do is come over here to the player start, and I'm going to drag in one for now and hit the play button. And now you can see I actually spawn at that player start instead of in the air. Okay. Now, naturally, this is co-op, so you would really rather have, you know, quite a few of these scattered out into your level, however many of them you want. And now it'll just pick one of those at random and voila. Okay. All right. So now that's essentially how you get the map. Now there's some other changes that have to be made in order to get this to be functional. So if we go back to the main menu, wherever that is, where is that? It's been a hot minute since I've been in here. So if we go back to the main menu, let's go ahead and save this, save selected here. And we hit the play button and we hit multiplayer and host game. It's still going to put you in my crappy map. See this? Yeah, that's not what we want. We want it to open our new shiny map. So how do we do that? Well, in the multiplayer folder, in the blueprints, there is a specific blueprint in here, which is the game instance. And right here, you can see it's called BPGIMP TPS, right? So that is the game instance. Now, here's where it is, right? So you can see that this also has a little crap single player thing. So you could change this here. That would have to be changed. And then beyond that, this has to be changed, right? See this? This is the name of the map. So what you would do is you would simply go to the map that you want this thing to actually open, click here, and then hit Control-C to copy that name. Then in the game instance, right, if you want the single player map to also be that map, you simply change this name to be the new one, right? And then that also means that right here where you host the game, this one also needs to be changed. And then do a compile and save. And then when you hit the play button now, if you go single player, okay. Is it going to open? I think I just locked it up. Great. 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 Oh, there it went, finally. See, this is another reason, guys, why I hate newer engine versions. It takes forever for shit to open. At least the first time, anyway. So there you have it, right? So that's the single player. And then also, if we go the host game route, and we host a multiplayer match, voila, there it is. So that is exactly all that is necessary to get it to open your map from the menu. That's it. Those two places have to be changed. Okay, and so now, let's go ahead and save that. I don't know what changed, but something did. Now there is also another place that probably needs changed, and it's been a hot minute since I've been in here, so give me a moment here. But this door, right, you guys, once again, I'm not going to be recovering this. This is contained in the other videos, but it's worth a mention here. So these doors, you guys remember all the default settings that I said you guys have access to, right? Under the details, see all this, you can change the room name, the trigger volumes, and all that stuff. Once again, go watch those other videos, guys. I'm not making these videos just to hear myself talk, okay? But here's the thing. One of these doors you would be setting to can map travel, right? Remember from the other video, one of these doors is going to, you can queue it up to make it take you from one map to a different map, okay? So that's where you check this true, right? Now, I'm going to open up this door, right? Because I don't remember exactly how I did this. So if we open up this door, you can see that in the scripting here. And guys, once again, I have to be careful what I show in these videos, right? Because people can copy my stuff and recreate it without actually having to buy the damn templates. So it ain't like I can go in here and just show you guys every single little nuance of this thing. Otherwise, what's the point in trying to sell it when people could just pause these videos and recreate this stuff, right? But anyway, in the door, in the master door blueprint, this is where that boolean triggers, right? So if you check that box to be true, can map travel, you can see that we're going up into the game state, calling a custom event called server travel to map. So if you'll notice, right here it is, and you can see that we're getting the name of the current level and we're comparing it here to these levels. Well, the problem is that we changed the map name, right? So now what we're going to be checking is if this is equal to this map name, then we're going to open test map 2. And if it's equal to test map 2, we're going to open this map, right? And so there's a command in here, so you don't want to delete all this. You just want to delete the map name and paste in the new map name. And that should be enough to get the door to actually work. Now, once again, if you guys are adding more than one map, you can see that this is going to get significantly more complicated, right? So basically what this door does is it looks at your current map, and if it's equal to sample scene 1, it's going to open up your next map. In this case, it's map 2. If it's equal to map 2, then it's going to open up the sample scene, right? The new map that we added. If you guys want to expand this to include more than these 2 maps, you guys are going to have to rework this bit of logic right here to suit whatever it is that you're wanting to do. As an example, make it pick from a random array of maps instead of it being hard-coded like this, right? You could create a array variable inside here that has all the names of your map, and then you could just have it pick one at random. That way it just picks a random map instead of it being, if you're on map 1, go to map 2. If you're on map 2, go back to map 1. So once again, that's beyond the scope of what these help videos will tell you. That's building games, bruh. But these examples that I lay out here should give you plenty of ideas on how to expand this template to suit more what you're doing. Now, the final thing about maps here that I want to mention is that there's also one other very important thing that you will have to do when you get ready to package this, right? Once again, guys, go watch those damn videos, guys. But I'll cover it briefly here. So when you go up here and hit the drop down beside settings, and you go into project settings, underneath maps and modes, this is set to open up your main menu, which that's fine. That's exactly what it should do. Now, you can make your editor open your new map if you choose to, so that you don't have to go through the menu. You guys know that. But what's important here is underneath the packaging section here, there is a fold out right here underneath packaging. And if you scroll down, you're going to see that there is a list of maps to include. You guys see where this is going, right? There's a new map. Okay. So I don't think it'll actually, will it? Yeah, it'll let you delete one map. So right here, you can see we don't want test map 1 anymore, right? We've got our shiny new map. So you can hit this drop down here and tell it to delete it, but then you need to add back your new map. So if you browse into the sci-fi industrial level, underneath maps, underneath sample scene, you can see that this is it right here, sample scene A UMAP. And now you're ready to package. So guys, anytime you change the name of the map, anytime you create a new map, it ain't as simple as just plopping in a new map. There's a lot, this is what I was meaning when I said there's a lot of things in these projects that have to talk and communicate with each other, right? This is not modding. This is game dev, bruh. There's a difference, okay? And so I believe that right there should probably give you guys enough information about changing the maps, okay? Now, there was another question someone was having. They're actually in the Discord, and they were having an issue with getting, you know, objects to show up, right? And so I really don't have very much information about what exactly he's talking about, but I did kind of answer his question a little bit about, hey, are you using the same engine versions, right? Are you trying to migrate my template into another template? Because that ain't going to work, right? I mean, it will work. You can do that, but it's going to be a significant amount of work that will have to be put into it, right? It ain't as simple as just migrating this template into whatever it is that you've already created and expect it to just magically work. Now, maps are an edge case, right? I mean, it's really pretty simple to do the map. At the end of the day, all you got to do is change a couple things around, and now you're opening the new map. But when you do that, you're also going to have to configure all your pickups and stuff, okay? And so the other video in the series of videos I made for this template, it already covers all this stuff. But apparently the problem he's having is he says that, you know, he tries to bring in something and it don't show up, right? And I have no idea really why that would be happening, because as you can see here, I could just simply just drag, look, voila, there's the door. So if we were to go to the turret, voila, there's the turret, right? I mean, I don't know why he's having issues dragging things in and them not showing up. Unless he's using two different engine versions, right? If he's trying to use my template in a older engine version, well, it's not going to work, right? Obviously. And then you can just drag in your weapon crate. And he was talking about the colors not changing. Well, make sure that you watch that other video, sir, because it tells you what changes these colors, right? It has to do with this variable right here. See? And that is how you change the color, and you have some configuration here that has to be done here. So that's what those other videos cover, right? And I'm not going to recover that here. And so when we spawn in here, these turrets oughta, well, actually I didn't configure them, right? So they're not going to do anything. So let me go ahead and just configure one of these real quick. We'll just put in the turret projectile here. Let's bump the radius up. And I'm not going to go ahead and put in the sound effects and the muzzle flashes and stuff, but let's just see if it shoots at me. Look at that. And then, of course, the AI should be pretty much the exact same configuration. Oh, now that I mentioned the AI, there is one big ginormous thing here that'll have to happen for the AI. Okay, so let me go ahead and just bring one in here. Holy shit, I totally forgot about that, but that's right. Yeah, this project has AI in it. So if you were to just bring in an enemy right here like that, and you know, he's got a little bit of configuration here too, so let's just bump his radius up here. Let's give him a gun of some kind, just the damn shotgun, I guess, and let's just spawn in here and see what he does, right? So as you can see, he'll shoot at me, see, but he don't move, right? So what's missing here, guys? Bueller. Yeah, the navigation mesh. So when you do get a level built, whatever, you know, it is that you decide to do, there's a very important thing here for the AI. And it is called a nav mesh bounds, right? So you drag this thing in here, and this is the area in which the enemy AI can wander and follow, right? So, you know, you see this little square box? He's still not going to move, right? So if you put that square box over here, and maybe we'll change the size of this, right? Let's go ahead and do this. And I don't know if we have to build the lighting or not in order to get this to work, but let's just take a gamble here and see. So if I spawn in now, let's see if he's wandering around over there. No, he is not. So let's see here. Nav mesh bounds. I bet you that we have to rebuild it, right? Probably. So let me just go ahead and hit the build button here. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know if there's errors here in this asset pack that we put in here. I have no idea, but I believe after you put the mesh in, the nav mesh, I believe you have to rebuild it, right, in order to get the navigation to work. And you know, there might be a drop down up here where you can only build the navigation, right? So maybe that's what we should have did. Let's look and see. Let's see, is there a way to build navigation only? Yeah, I guess I don't see it here. I thought there used to be a way, but you know, honestly, I just usually build the whole map when I do this. But since it said it built navigation, let's just see if it actually did. Yeah, see, now you can see the AI over there wandering around, and he will only go in that box, right? So if you want this AI to be able to travel around the whole goddamn map, well, obviously you're going to have to make that trigger nav mesh big enough to encapsulate your whole entire map, right? So he will only wander around randomly in that volume. See there? And he works, right? So there's really nothing to talk about beyond that. And then of course you would drag your pickups in, but all that's covered in that other video, and I'm not going to cover that here. Okay. So for the fellow that was having issues with stuff showing up, the only thing I can think of that would be causing that is that you have migrated my project into your project, and your project is, let's see, my dyslexia is kicking in here. Your project that you migrated my project into is an older engine version, right? And so if that's the case, you're going to have to upgrade whichever project you tried to migrate my project into, right? Those have to match. And generally when you do that and it's an older engine version, generally there ain't even nothing in here. Like if you were to try to look at my assets in here, there wouldn't even be nothing in here. The folder would be here, but there wouldn't be no assets in it. So I don't know what's going on, but obviously you can see that, you know, every single blueprint that I just tried to drag in here, it pulls right in and works perfect, right? Well, I mean, after you configure it, that is, it will work perfectly. So I don't really have any other explanation, right, as to why that's happening. I need more input. Okay. No. The way that I did this AI, guys, you will find is very different than most people. Okay? This AI in this project does not even use a behavior tree. Okay? So there's no behavior tree. There's no blackboard, right? There is no EQS, none of that. I scripted this AI manually. Okay? So what does that mean exactly for those of you that are curious? There's only two things that make up my AI. It is this enemy blueprint and it is this enemy AI. So if you was to open the AI controller, this is the AI controller. That is the entire AI controller. That's it. And it looks like we got a warning in here. Oh, this node is deprecated. So get random point in navigation radius, right? Is that not what we just used? Wow, I guess they've done something different here. I mean, it still works, obviously, but let's see, what does it say here? This version of get random point and navigatable radius is deprecated. Please use the new version, right? So get random, I guess that's the new one, right? So you would just do this. And this would be the radius. And then you can get rid of the deprecated node, recompile, and voila. Okay, so wow, I don't know what that's about, but it's fair. Oh, so anyway, what I was saying is, this is the entire AI of this character, the enemy. Between this and what's contained in this enemy blueprint, that's it. That's the AI. It don't use any of that stuff, right? So obviously you can see that you can accomplish a lot with AI without ever touching a behavior tree, blackboard, EQS, whatever, right? So I chose in this project, I chose not to use any of that stuff just to see. I'm not an AI guy anyway. And also multiplayer complicates things significantly. And so I just chose not to do it, right? And obviously, even not doing it, this AI is pretty baller already, right? They strafe, they aim, they chase, right? As long as you're in that navigation radius. They come after you when you shoot them. See? Of course, he's not going to come over here because that navigation radius isn't big enough. But yeah, so they're not using... Hell, as a matter of fact, they're not even using any of the AI perception, right? Look at this, guys. Do you see any perception components in this AI enemy? There ain't none. I'm not using the sight perception, the hearing perception. I'm not using any of that stuff, right? And it still works. But anyway, whatever. I'm getting off topic here. But yeah, if you guys don't own this template, it's $20 on the UV4 marketplace. You should go buy it. If for no other reason than to go in there and look how I did that AI. It's pretty slick, actually. I think you guys would see that and be like, huh, I never fucking thought of that. But yeah, that'll work. Okay. So the final thing that I want to talk about here is the final question that I got asked. And, you know, if there ends up being a pool of questions beyond what I answer in this one, guys, I cannot keep making videos infinitely. But, you know, if there ends up being a lot more questions, but not how do I build my game, bruh, questions, right? Because I'm not covering that. If it's not in direct relation to this template, I'm literally not covering that. At that point, you need to hire me to build your game, right? If you need further information than that. Okay, so the last question has to do with animations, right? And guys, this topic here is a deep, deep, deep rabbit hole. So the question that I got was, how do I change the animations in this project? How do I add more animation states to this project? Whew. Guys, that's a deep rabbit hole, right? That's a deep rabbit hole. But I probably can give you guys the TLDR version of that without getting in too much extreme detail and giving away exactly how this template works. So guys, the animation system in this template is controlled with an enumeration. And what happens is every weapon in this project, every weapon has a reference to that enumeration in it. So if I open up the master weapon blueprint here, there is a variable in here. Actually, there's a couple variables in here. One is the weapon type, right? So you have a primary weapon type, a secondary weapon type, and a heavy weapon type. But you also have one in here for animation set. And as you can see here, it's an enumeration and it has the different animation sets in it. So what happens is, based on the weapon that is in the character's hand, it triggers the enumeration to switch the animations over to those animations, right? So what does that mean exactly? That means that in every child blueprint that's in this project, you're going to see that this enumeration right here is set to a specific animation set. So in other words, the heavy weapons are all using the rifle hip animations. The primary weapons are all using the rifle iron sights animations. And of course, the pistols are using the pistol animations. And that automatically happens based on the weapon that's in the character's hand. So you can see that right now, I'm using a primary weapon and it's using the aim down sights animations. The moment that I switch to the pistol, you can see that he's now using the pistol animation set. And then, of course, if I go to the heavy, you can see he's using the rifle hip animations. So that is how that is controlled. So the question was, how do I expand that? Well, Honestly, it's pretty simple. Maybe. Right? Maybe not. Now, once again, guys, we're getting into the weeds here. And as much as I love you guys, and I really do appreciate you guys buying my products and stuff, I cannot answer every single little question about how you need to build your game, because everybody's game is going to be different. And you guys could easily see that all I would ever get done is answering those questions. So let's pretend for a moment in the land of make-believe, John Galt wants to change to a sword animation, right? So in other words, I want to create a sword of some sort and have my character carry that sword. How would I do that? Well, obviously you're going to have to expand the animation enumeration, right? So you can see in the weapons blueprints here, here's that enumeration that I'm referring to. So if you open this, you can see that all an enumeration is just a list. So if you want a new one, you add a new one here and you name it sword as an example. And then when you save this, now when you go back in here and you look at these weapons here, you will see that in the animation set, you now have a sword set. So what would happen is you would create a child blueprint here as an example. And in that child blueprint, you would put your sword, right? Now, of course, this is designed for weapons, but it's guns really. But this could be modified to support swords too. With enough ingenuity and know-how, you could do that. But the important part would be that, oh, well, I need to make sure that this sword would be using the sword animation set. Now, here comes the fun part, right? Here comes the fun part. So that then means that you're going to have an entire set of sword animations, probably, depending on how you set your stuff up. And that would need to go into the animation blueprint, right? So if we open the animation blueprint, you can see that right here is where I'm monitoring which animation set that the character is supposed to be using. So in other words, when you switch to the sword, this animation variable here is going to get changed to the sword. Then that trickles into the anim graph right in here. So if you come in here and look at the locomotion, you're going to see that, you know, there's a bunch of different states in here. This has crouch and all that stuff. But what you will notice is that in each of these, you're going to see this in here called blend by enum, right? And if we right click this node, now you have a listing for sword, right? And you see that it puts it in here. So then what does that mean? Well, then that means, well, you're going to have a sword blend space. And then that blend space would be down here and plugged in to here. But here's the really fun part of this. That also means that sprint, well, in this case, all these are using the same sprint, but the sword might have to have a different one. And if it does, well, then you're going to have to implement that blend by enumeration in the sprint. Then, if you look at the crouch movement, you're going to see that that is in here as well, which then means you're going to have to create a crouch blend space for swords, right? You guys see what I'm getting at here? This is a nightmare, honestly. But you know, really, this is just the way that it is. Then that means that you're going to have a different stand to crouch, right? Animation, and you're going to have to add that pin here and blend it in right here so that when that sword goes into the hand of that character, it's going to know, hey, I need to be pulling this animation set. See, if you watch this guy over here on the left here, and we go in here and actually change these animations, watch this. Watch the guy on the left screen. Pretend for a moment I hit my Q button and I switched from a heavy weapon to a primary weapon. Bam. That's exactly what happens. And on top of that, it updates, you know, which animation set that it's supposed to be seeing. See right here? And then if I change that back to rifle hip, bam, you can see that it's pulling this animation instead. So that trickles through the entirety of the animation system in this project. even out here, you're going to see that this is for the aim offsets. So you would have to have an aim offset for the sword, and you would add that pin here, and this is where you would blend in your aim offset for your sword, right? So it's complicated. It really is complicated. And there's already 3 sets of animations being implemented in here. There is a pistol set of animations, there is a rifle hip set of animations, and there is an iron sights animations, right? Now, there are other ways to do this other than the way that I chose to do this. You guys will have to investigate that on your own. But I can tell you that you can accomplish a lot of different weapon poses by using IK systems. This project does not have IK, okay? But you can do that. Or alternately, you can do it the way that I did it, which is you create an enumeration, you monitor that variable in the weapon in the character's hand. When that weapon changes, it trickles into the animation blueprint to pull the correct ground movement blend spaces, the correct jump starts, the correct jump ends, the correct jump lands, the correct jump loops, the correct montages for firing the weapons, right? So an animation system is a big, ginormous system that if you don't get that right, it can be a nightmare, right? Because everything has to change, right? You're not going to be able to use the same firing animation anymore. You're going to have to use a sword swinging animation montage, right? So it gets complicated. And so I believe that that about covers all the questions that I've got, save one. And it also has to do with animations. So the final question was, how do I give this character an unarmed state? Now, guys, any of you guys that have been around my YouTube page for a hot minute, you guys do realize that I loathe having a non-combat state in a game. I literally hate it. But knowing what I just covered here about changing the animations out, you guys could see, one way that you could implement an unarmed state, meaning the character runs around in the game and he has no weapon in his hand. The catch to that, obviously, is going to be, so how do you hide the weapon, right? Because obviously when you spawn in here, this character has a weapon already in his hand, right? And so how would you make it to where you press a button and the character puts the weapon away and then he's running around with no weapons in his hand? How would you do that? And so, yeah, one way that you could do that is you could add an unarmed state to that enumeration and then follow the same logic. There is a catch to that, though. If the animation is based on the weapon in the character's hand, how do you take the weapon out of the character's hand, right? Now, he's onto it over here. You could do it with visibility. But then what you're going to run into, see how, I want to show you guys how quickly this spirals out of control. Okay, so we know how we could implement an unarmed state. We know how we could add a listing to that enumerator that's simply called unarmed. And so what do we do with the weapon, right? Do we throw it down on the ground? Do we just simply hide it, set the visibility to be hidden so that you can't see it? Well, setting the visibility to be hidden is going to make the weapon look like it's gone, but you're still going to be able to shoot the weapon. So then that means you're going to have to put logic in to where you're shooting your gun to say that if the weapon is not visible, do not allow the weapon to shoot. Because if you allow the weapon to shoot, well, then you're going to be seeing muzzle flashes and all this kind of crap, right? So it's a lot more complex than just simply, oh, all I need to do is just simply add an unarmed state. There is nothing simple about that, right? There's a lot of work involved in it. And so when you see, guys, this is another reason, just to be clear here, This is another reason why I try not to make overly complex and overly complicated templates, right? Simple, capture the flag. It's all about capture the flag. That's it. No combat systems, none of that stuff. It's so that I can keep it simple enough that you can go in there and poke around and understand how it was made. And then you can recreate that in your project. Or alternately, you can take what I have already provided in the template and then build on top of it all the things that you wish for it to have. So when I was designing this template in the beginning, I also had a lot of input from users in my community. Behind the scenes, they were asking about, well, how could you do this in this template? And so when I was scoping this out to build, I intentionally kept this as simplistic as I possibly could, but still have all the features that I thought was necessary in order to be a good demonstration of a third-person shooter co-op multiplayer style game. So there are a lot of things missing in here. And, you know, there's also a lot of things that you might want to tinker with to customize it to what you want it to be, right? And that's exactly what these templates are meant for. The problem is that doesn't have to involve me, right? Because you guys can make this into whatever you want it to be. Like there's another guy that's using this template for a project that he's working on. He's already modified this to the point that it barely even resembles what it started as. He's got friendly AI, right? So the way this comes by default, you only have enemy AI. Well, he's already made modifications to his version of my template. Now he has a squad that follows him and helps him defeat the enemy AI in here, right? He's already done that. I wasn't involved in doing that. He did that, right? So a lot of the new guys that buy these templates, guys, I mean, they're really good to learn from, and I really do appreciate it. But they're not games, guys. They're not, especially my templates. It's not meant to be, you buy my template, change the meshes out and put a couple levels in it, and then you post your game on Steam for $10, right? That's not what my templates are meant for. They're meant for a couple things. One is to tear apart all these blueprints that I created in here and try to understand how they were made, why they were made that way, and try to use it as a learning tool to recreate it, right? And then the second use for my templates is to take it as is, the way that it come from me, and you go in there and tinker around and modify this and change that, and you literally make it your own. Build right on top of it. Expand it. All those things that are missing, that you deem are missing, it's your job to go in there and add those, not mine, right? Otherwise, I'm building a game at that point. And if I'm building a game, I wouldn't be selling you guys templates of the game. I would be building my own game to be put on Steam for sale somewhere. So I hope that clears all that up, and I hope that this answered a lot of the questions that I've been getting about this template. So guys, you're going to have to work. And, you know, honestly, there's no getting around that. But this is a very good foundation for you guys to learn from and to start from, right? There's nothing wrong. See, here's the thing. The better course of action would be, you don't migrate my template into your project. You don't migrate my project into your project. You migrate your project into my project and then start from there, right? That's where you should start. So I guess there's nothing else to say about it. I mean, that's exactly what these things are designed for. When you're shopping for a template on the UE4 marketplace, here's what you should be doing. You should be either looking for a template that you intend to tear apart and learn and understand how it was made, or you should be looking for a template that has the majority of the features that you wish to try to have in your game. So in other words, this template here did not come with an unarmed state. And even though there is weapon pickups in here, right, you can, you know, in those other videos you guys saw that you can come up to these crates and pick the guns up. But all it does is take the gun that's in your hand, put it on the crate, and take the one that was on the crate and put it where that one came from. So if you guys are wanting to have an unarmed state so that you can then take these weapons that I've created in here and drop them all over the ground and whatnot and be able to walk over top of them and pick them up, you guys are going to have a hard time, right? Because this was not designed to be that way. And if you want it to work that way, I don't know what the obsession is with that mechanic. I really don't. I literally have no idea why people want to be able to run around with no gun and then, oh, look, I found a gun laying on the ground. Let me pick up that gun, and now I have that gun. Oh, look, here's another gun. Oh, well, wow, let me pick that gun up, and now I have two guns. I have no fucking idea what the obsession is with that mechanic. But guys, I can tell you, in my duration of doing this, I guarantee you that I've had at least 100 people want me to show them how to build that kind of mechanic. And I have done it, right? I have made videos in the past showing how that you could do that. I just find it useless. What's the difference between wandering around in a game and finding a gun laying on the ground and picking it up versus, oh, look, I found a crate, and on top of the crates are some weaponry? What's the damn difference? The difference is you can't throw the guns in this project. You can't throw them down to where you have none. Right? So I can't help you guys with that. You could probably modify this template to make it do that. But you know, honestly, you would probably be far better off just to design it from the ground up to already do that, than to try to take this one and make it do that. Even though you could, like I could do it, I'm sure I could. But yeah, guys, come on. What is this obsession with running around with no gun and just, oh, look, there's a gun laying there? I don't get it. But, you know, everybody's got their own thing, right? They got their own thing, and I guess that's just what people like. I don't know. So with that, guys, let me bring Chad over here and get caught up. I did see a couple of you guys come hang out. So hello, Jerry. What's happening? That's Hell Monkey. Never conform. Yeah, make your projects never conform. Ever. Just make it be a big, hot, jumbled up, duct tape and bubblegum mess. That way, every time you open your project to work on something, it takes you 2 hours to find it, right? That's exactly the way you should do it. That's a joke, by the way. Don't do that. Whoa, I've talked so much today, I'm parched. Hello, Ripper Junkie. What's happening, dude? I'm doing great. Fantastical. And Syndicus Game says press P to show the nav mesh. Yeah, you can do that. I think. Yeah, there it is. Wow, I don't remember making it that big, but I guess I did. Whatever. But yeah, you can press P to toggle your nav mesh on and off. John, okay, we talked about that. No, I'm not using EQS, behavior trees, perception, none of that. It's all done differently. Simpler, in my opinion. Right? In my opinion, I think what I did in this project to get this AI to wander around randomly, shoot, aim, you know, react. I think the way that I've done this is far less convoluted and complicated than it would be to try to set all that stuff up using behavior trees, blackboards, tasks, EQS, and perception. I honest to God believe the way that I did this is far simpler. And it works just as good with all the complication and confusion removed, right? Now, you could probably take what I've done in this template, truth be known, and adapt that over to work in the EQS perception behavior tree Blackboard task type scenario. But I just chose not to do it that way, right? Add another enum for unarmed. Yep. And then the visibility. Yep. Jerry Bradshaw, weaponless is how Fortnite works, I think. Jump out of bus with no weapon, then mad frantic to find a starting weapon. Don't play Fortnite, so not for sure. Yeah, it's probably got something to do with that. Probably. I guess they're trying to turn part of the gameplay into finding the guns, right? And I mean, I can understand that, but you know, what happens if you don't find a gun, right? I mean, the last thing that I want to do in the heat of combat is to wander around trying to find a gun to shoot somebody in the head with, right? I mean, if you're jumping into combat, name one soldier on the face of this earth that would jump into combat without having a weapon already. Yeah, maybe they do, maybe. Some Black Ops shit, maybe. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they would bring their own gun. Right? BYOG. Bring your own gun. But I mean, I guess I kind of understand it. Whoever manages to find the best, bestest, shiniest gun first is the one that has the advantage. I guess my scenario would be, well, give them all shitty guns to begin with, crappy guns, and then hide some really good guns in the crates, right? So as an example, just as a quick example here, you guys get to pick what guns show up on these crates in this template, right? So you select the template here and you can choose which gun shows up, right? So, you hide in certain crates, hidden areas, you put the BFG, right? The heavy plasma gun, right? Maybe you put 2 of them bad boys on here like this. And that's the BFG. Right? You don't get to start with the BFG. Hide that son of a bitch somewhere and only put 2 of them in the whole entire level. And part of the gameplay would be you got to use the shitty stuff until you find the better stuff. But at least you have some shitty stuff, right, to start with. So, I mean, you could accomplish it any multitude of different ways. This is just the way that I chose to do this. All right. And so with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Once again, I would like to say I appreciate every single one of you guys that have bought this template. I really do appreciate that. Also, do not forget, I do have a Udemy course that is for sale that teaches in-depth detail about how I accomplish a lot of these things that you guys see in these templates. So in other words, if you guys own the multiplayer FPS basic, which is not the same as this, it's a first person only multiplayer template. The Udemy course that is on there is basically showing you step-by-step guidance and instruction on how that template was created from ground zero. So you guys that are experiencing dilemmas trying to take something that I have made and modificate it, you guys are trying to do it unarmed, right? Go get that course, follow that course, and then you'll know where you need to go and what you need to do in order to make the modifications that you wish to make, right? It teaches you that. You won't have to ask me how to do it. You will know and learn on your own how to do it. And that is what my templates are designed for. They're not meant to be, I'm going to asset flip this and pretend like I'm a game dev and made an Uber game. Yeah, you can do that, but you didn't make the game. I did. Okay? All right, so with that, you guys take care. This is John Gall, and we will see you guys in another video in another time. Have a good one, fellows.